How's it going, everybody? Hope we're all doing well. Back with another video today. Now that I'm feeling like myself again, there's no stopping me. So in today's video, I want to talk about Bigfoot again. Surprise, surprise. Always want to talk about Bigfoot. And I want to look more closely at the footprints and how they work. And we're even going to do a little experiment in the name of science. So if that says something like you're interested in seeing, please stay tuned. Tell you something, it is one mild day today. When I was getting ready to set off, I had my camo jacket that I wear at the ready, and I just took one look outside and I thought, nah, I will melt if I wear that today. Obviously when you've been feeling under the weather, you want to keep wrapped up, stop it from coming back. But obviously I've got my thick jumper and t-shirt on today, so I opted for the regatta waterproof light jacket, so hopefully that'll do me alright. I believe the weather is meant to change tomorrow, meant to turn dull and rainy, so I thought get out again today, try and make one more video, and then obviously tomorrow I can batten down the hatches and potter around at home. So then, Bigfoot's footprints. It's funny because obviously it's in his name, Bigfoot, but in my humble opinion, as somebody that's very interested in this subject, I think the sort of study of the footprints, not so much the study, but when you're a hobbyist like me and you're out on the ground and you're looking for clues and signs that these things are about, footprints are something that I think are really overlooked, and it's a shame because footprints, obviously they can tell us a lot about any animal, and if you spend a lot of time out here, you're not bad at tracking, identifying footprints. Again, it can tell you a lot about an animal. So yeah, last night when I was at home, I was watching one of my favourite Bigfoot interview clips, and it was from John Green, who was a Bigfoot researcher in America. Monster in the Woods, 1999. If anybody's interested in seeing it, I'll leave the link down below. But yeah, I was watching it and I was like, bloody hell, I was 6 when that was filmed. Little did I know, 21 years later, I'd be out every waking moment that God gave me, looking for these things. So yeah, funny how life turns out sometimes. The thing is with John Green, he was a very, I think anyway, just judging off of these interview clips, quite a pedantic man, very rooted in the facts, which of course there's nothing wrong with. As I said before in videos about this subject, never take something as gospel, always have an open, quizzical mind about the subject. But he made a very, very good point, and it's one of my favourite arguments about the existence of these beings, and it's to do with the footprints. And he said that, I probably won't get this quote bang on, but the point he was getting at when he was asked about characteristics that you would see in a Bigfoot, when he was describing the footprints, And it is this: if there are footprints, something has to have made them. That's one fact that you can't dispute. Now, what is that something that's made those footprints? Either it's an animal, a large bipedal hair-covered hominid that's seen all around the world, or it is some sort of gathered man-made activity that has been going on for millennia across the world to dupe people into thinking that these things are out here. And the rule of science is that you take the more simple explanation. Always take the simple explanation. And this more simple explanation, when you think about it, is that it must be a real animal. Another fact that he talked about, as well as obviously saying the footprints, something has to have made them. That is a fact. Can't dispute that. The other fact that he said is that, you know, thousands upon thousands of people have reported seeing these things all around the world, and they all describe the same, you know, looking type creature, being. The fact that people have said that, that also is a fact. They have said it. You can't dispute that. So what footprints potentially could be misidentified as a Bigfoot track? Well, like I was saying in the video past, that obviously North America, Canada, Northern Europe, and then into Asia, obviously your number one culprit for misidentified Bigfoot sighting and trackway is going to be the bear. You know, it's a large footprint, very broad, fairly cylindrical in its, you know, dimensions, and over time, you know, footprints, they fade. You know, they don't always stay pristine, and the shape that they turn into, it can be somewhat deceiving if you don't know what you're looking at. So, you know, I could buy that. A potential Bigfoot footprint could actually just be a bear track. But what about here in the UK? What animals do we have here where their footprint, you could potentially mistake it as a Bigfoot track? Well, like I was saying again in the video past, you know, there's, in my opinion, physically no other animal native to this country that you could misidentify as a Bigfoot. As far as the trackway goes, one of my favourites, one thing that really makes me chuckle from people who are, you know, hardcore naysayers, oh, it's a person's foot, is that? And it's like, just rewind and say that over and over in your head until it starts sinking how stupid that sounds. You know, what are the chances that there is somebody out here, you know, and out in the, you know, back and beyond wilderness, because I'm just in a country park right now. You know, there are people here. So if you're out in the moors, or you're out in Northumberland or North Scotland, places where footprints have been found and photographed, what are the chances that there is a barefooted bloke or woman out there with a size 18 foot walking around barefoot? I think it's pretty slim chances is that, but you know, I could be wrong. When the people who are, again, hardcore naysayers, they just will not take any argument on board at all. They won't be open-minded. You know, it doesn't frustrate me. If anything, I feel sorry for people like that, because I think when you're that dead set in your beliefs, your mindset, you're not opening your brain to the possibilities. I think it's because people like that, they can't cope with thinking about these topics. You know, Bigfoot, UFOs, lake monsters, life after death, spirits, the paranormal. These are big, big topics to wrap your head around. And I think people that just slam it all down and just shut the book on it, I don't think they can cope with thinking about it. Which I think, you know, in my humble opinion, It's quite a sad way to be, really. One thing that I find really fascinating when you're looking at footprints from Bigfoot is the fact that the big toe is splayed from the rest of the line of toes. You know, like this, if you can imagine, this is our feet. Our toes are all uniform. The big toe goes like that. It parts away from the rest of them. Now, why is that? There must be some reason they've developed that evolutionary adaptation, which obviously we haven't. Now, it's scientifically proven, you know, from anthropologists, people that study humans, the way that we walk, the reason we have such a big bulbous big toe is because it's designed to take all of our weight. When you take a step forward, your big toe is the one that hits the ground first. Try it if you don't believe me, and just take note. And that is why, as we get older, we tend to deteriorate in our walking, and we start to get back problems and things like that. It's because the big toe has had decades and decades of bearing all of our weight. And again, generally, as you know, we get older, we tend to put on more weight, which is more pressure on our bodies. So those same anthropologists, they've looked at the Bigfoot footprints, just hypothetically, doesn't matter if they don't believe them or not. They've just looked at them purely with the eye of somebody that is unbiased to the subject. And they believe that these things actually walk better than what we do. And again, it makes total sense, because they're out here, you know, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Their entire lives they're out in the wild. It would make sense that they had the hardware, physically, to cope with various terrains, whether it be woodland, mountains, hillsides, coastal regions, boggy swamps, you know, even underground caves, which, you know, we touched on before, and we will do again in the future. It makes total sense that they would be more well equipped to cope with a wide variety of terrain, because obviously we have shoes, we don't walk around barefoot anymore, you know, so it kind of makes sense as that. And again, when you look at the shape of a Bigfoot's foot, apart from the splayed big toe, another thing that is very striking about them is how flat and uniform they are in shape. Whereas our feet, obviously, we have a groove in the middle of it, and we've, you know, developed that over time, and through the invention of wearing footwear, you know, as far back as 10,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, I'd assume, when the Ice Age was at its absolute pinnacle. We wouldn't have walked around barefoot, getting frostbite. We would have covered our feet up. Alright, so now time for a bit of science. So I'm currently barefoot. So for those that are, you know, a little bit squeamish about feet, viewer discretion is advised. I just want to show people just how tricky it actually is, demonstrate how tricky it is to actually get a perfect looking bipedal footprint in the mud. So stay tuned. Here we go. That's me pressing down as hard as I can into the mud. It just about makes a heel impression, and you can just about see my big toe imprint right there. So that was the right foot. Now I'm going to do the left foot, see what happens. You see, that's much better. But you can still see it is dubious what it could be at a glance. Obviously you've got the heel right there, and again there's that groove that I was talking about that our feet have compared to the Bigfoot's. You can see the toes a little bit better on that one as well. See, one thing that, you know, people who all like have a little mooch into this subject. One of the big misconceptions about Bigfoot trackways is that they're perfectly uniform, straight line of tracks. One thing that is hard to explain unless you are used to being out here in the woods, out in the wilderness, is that footprints are very, very rare. It's hard to come across a perfect footprint. It's because the conditions have got to be just right to make them. As you saw back there, I was pressing my foot into that mud as hard as I could. I'm 6 foot tall, I'm just over 13 stone, and it barely made an imprint. So when you're seeing these 18, size trackways, 18-inch trackways, that are, you can see all the toes perfectly in the ground. If it's hard ground and it's managed to do that, it must weigh very, very heavy. Back to what I was saying about the trackways, is that, nature, terrain, it's hard to navigate in a straight line. And that's because physically, as a bipedal animal, us as humans, one of our legs is just ever so slightly longer than the other. And you would never notice this if you were in a town or a city in your day-to-day life. But we cannot walk in a straight line. So the fact that people expect Bigfoot trackways to be perfectly uniform and in a straight line, it's not realistic. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. So again, I'm barefoot. Let's try and navigate through all this bramble and dead ferns. So most people who just watch that then probably shaking their head, thinking, you crazy, crazy fool. Why would you do that? Why would you walk around barefoot, Lancashire, England, middle of the autumn, it's less than 10 degrees in barefoot. And I just wanted to try and get across the point that people who, the naysayers that are claiming that the tracks we're getting in England are people walking around in barefoot. I don't think it's likely personally, and that's why I did that, just to try and demonstrate it, that, footprints, perfect 5-toe footprints, something that's, massive in proportions compared to, the regular foot size like mine. It's very, very unlikely you're going to come across that, I think. One last thing that I wanted to talk about before I end this video today, and it's, off topic from the footprints, but it could lead nicely into the next area of this phenomena, and that is, if Bigfoot is real, if it's a flesh and blood creature, why has there never been a body found? Now, obviously, I can't speak for other areas around the world where, there are wild man type beings present. But obviously here in the UK, I'm a little bit more gemmed up on this kind of knowledge. And, there's an estimated 450 million birds in our country. And in my 27 years of existence on planet Earth, the only time I've ever seen a dead bird is when a cat has brought one home for me. We know birds are real, we know there's lots of them, but why do we never see dead bodies of them out in the woods? Deer, there's millions of roe deer in the UK, Scotland, Wales, and I've never seen a dead deer, I'll put it that way. I might, in fact, no, I'll tell a lie. I've probably seen one or two dead ones along the side of the road, along motorways. But again, 2 in 27 years. I've found animal bones really out in the thickets, out in the, you know, like the wilderness, out on, you know, like the deep moors. But likely chance they are agriculture animals. They're likely sheep that have gotten lost and they've died from overexposure. Unlikely that it's a deer or anything else for that matter. If you've studied animal behaviour like I have, again, I'm not trying to make myself sound big-headed or anything like that, but I do know a thing or two about this because I've studied it. When an animal knows that the end is nigh, it will find itself a dark, quiet place where it can take its last breath. It will not, if it can help it, it will not die out in the open where it's exposed. It's like whenever I, you know, pet cats or pet dogs die at home. If a cat has sustained, you know, mortal injury, it will do its damnedest to get home where it knows that it's safe, and that is where it will take its last breath. And, you know, that's why you never see dead animal remains when you're out here. Now, if you take into the supposed intelligence of the wild man, you know, they're self-aware like we are. They know one day that they are going to expire. They know that they will die. Would it not make sense that they would have some sort of practiced, you know, behaviour that they carry out whenever a dead one, you know, expires? In other words, do Bigfoot bury their dead? It's possible. Anything is possible. And, you know, if we take into, you know, consideration the argument also that this is a subterranean creature, they're active at night time, but they dwell underground during the day, or most of the time throughout the year, they stick to the caves. You know, there's a lot of cave systems here in the UK, and a lot of them haven't been fully explored, which again we'll talk about more in the future. Is it possible that that's what they do? That really deep down in the earth, that's where the remains are, if it is a flesh and blood creature? Again, who the heck knows? See, to me, when I'm like, you know, just talking about this stuff to this camera, and the few people that do watch these videos, obviously I'm very grateful for that. To me, I just feel like I'm talking common sense, you know, and like, why would it not occur to people that are naysayers that anything that dies out here, it doesn't last very long? Nature is very self-sufficient at disposing of dead waste. To me, it's just common sense, you know, and it doesn't get me angry. You know, it used to when I first got out into this, you know, phenomena. I used to have these self-occurring thoughts, and people would just say, "No, you're wrong. There's no way that they can be here. They can't exist here." It used to really get on my nerves, but nowadays it doesn't. You know, it is what it is. So I think I will leave it there for today, guys. I've rabbited on enough now about Bigfoot for today. I'm going to enjoy my brew and my dinner, warm my feet up after my bit of science that I did. And hopefully I'll be back in a few days with another video. Because as I said, weather's to turn a little bit after today, and I don't really fancy coming out and pouring down rain after I've not been feeling too well. But yeah, if you've got to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it as always. If you've enjoyed the video, leave us a like, comment. If you have any, you know, thoughts and musings yourself about Bigfoot trackways and maybe where Bigfoot buried their dead, I'm always interested to hear what other people's opinions are. And I'll see you all further on down the road. Bye bye.